Hello everyone, welcome to Design Twist. This is Trevor, and today I'm going to be drawing my take on final evolutions for the 3 starters revealed for Pokemon Winds and Waves. This is Generation 10, if you can believe it, if you're counting. And this set of starters for me was really simplistic and took a second to grow on me, but I find them now to be really cute. And I'm still, as of recording, not sure who I'm going to start with. But without further ado, let's jump right in with Gekwa. So in setting out to make a 3rd stage for Gekwa, I wanted to keep its general shape consistent. I'm only designing the final forms for these, not the middle forms, so you can use your imagination to figure out how they got from point A to point B. I just wanted to think how I would want the Pokemon to look late game if I was fighting the Elite Four or the Champion. What is the ultimate form I would want this creature to take? So for Gekwa, I wanted to keep its kind of big, cute and oblong head, but the main design element that stuck out to me were the droopy, kind of rounded eyelashes, and I wanted to carry that bottom heavy and droopy shape language throughout the rest of the design. So I stuck with a reptilian body, not diverging too much from the shape of its first stage. Some Pokemon really do change from stage 1 to stage 3, thinking about something like Torchic and Blaziken, or Cyndaquil and Typhlosion, versus something like Bulbasaur, who has a much more straightforward transformation from its first to its second to its third form. I added on a couple of design elements, some in just the texture of the creature and some in like the protrusions on its head and neck that would take that shape language that I liked and echo it across its silhouette. I always like it when Pokemon have cool markings because it makes me think they could do something like Spinda, where you could get different versions of the markings within the same species. That would be fun if they did that on more Pokemon. And another thing I think is always fun is just dual types in general. I know that there's a diminishing return for just a bunch of cool dual types, and you have to have some single types and some dual types that are more common than others. There's still a handful that we haven't gotten, and there's quite a few fun videos on YouTube about what those Pokemon could look like. But as long as I'm in charge and I can design what the Pokemon look like, I'm going to give them dual types. So across Gekwa's evolution, I'm going to settle for it being Water Psychic. I think this is just from the pink color in its eyes. It looks very suave and calculating, and I think that would make for a very interesting mental-centric Pokemon. A classic Water Psychic fast special attacker in the vein of Starmie would be really cool for this thing. As for its biology, I wanted to give it something fun for that little buoyant and bulbous looking tail to morph into. So I thought as it evolved, its tail could split and turn into almost like an umbrella-like device, where its tail culminates in this ball shape on the end, and when it's swimming, the whole tail kind of retracts, and the big two-toned blue pieces would fan out like a fan, like a propeller, and it would spin its tail, it would spin those pieces so it would propel itself forward in the water. So while I show the line work process, I want to talk about all of the little gameplay details I thought up about this creature. For its name, I went with Gekawake, which carries on the gecko naming convention, but adds a double entendre with awake, like it has awakened to psychic abilities, but also a wake, as in the path behind you that you leave as you swim. I thought both of those things together fully communicate the creature's type and role. Obviously, as a water-type starter, this thing is going to have Torrent, but as a secondary ability choice, I would like to see this have Magic Bounce. That has always been a really cool and really strong ability in the right hands, and I think for a Psychic type, that would probably be Frail, or a Glass Cannon would probably be pretty fast. I'd like to see it have some defense just in the form of ignoring funky status moves and annoyances like that. If I were to give Gekawake a signature attack, it would be something along the lines of Propeller Pulse. Since this part of its biology and its design would be its signature visual, it should also be part of its signature move. So Propeller Pulse would be a water-type utility move. Something like a setup move that would put Gekawake into its state where its tail is retracted and spinning like a propeller. And something like, for the next 3 turns, damaging an opponent with a water-type attack causes your speed to go up 1 stage. It's almost a setup move that telegraphs itself, but if you let it get the momentum, regular stab attacks are going to serve the same role as speed boost. Is that broken? I don't really care if it's broken. I'm not Game Freak. You know, anything that resists water just kind of shuts that whole thing down. So it's kind of like a team check. It's a team comp check. But, you know, if you have a better idea for what Propeller Pulse could do, please leave it in the comments. And that goes true for the abilities that I'm going to give Pombon and Brout's evolutions as well. And finally, the last detail I want to talk about its gameplay is that my first idea that made me want to make this video and put off my Pokemon Fallout New Vegas video, which I'm still going to make, it's already half finished, is that I have a specific suspicion that these 3 Pokemon are going to be rideable. I think there's a reason that we have 1 land, 1 air, and 1 sea Pokemon. And with a name like Winds and Waves, it would be incredible for you, or for like the entire generation, to be based on people and Pokemon helping each other, living in harmony, Pokemon helping people, and in turn people helping Pokemon. And I just love the thought of running around, climbing mountains and jumping over things on a big dog, and flying through the water with the propeller, or having Brout's evolution fly you around. That's just so cool to me. For the colors, I kept it simple, which I usually do, but maybe I'll try to zag that a little bit in the future. I kept the same blues, along with the dark gray and pink of the original Gekwa design, and even used the 2 separate blues to push the cute umbrella look of the propeller tail. I think this Pokemon would have a nice shiny sheen to it. Being an aquatic Pokemon that's underwater, I thought that texture looked pretty nice on it. I'm just going to say it right now, I love Pombon. This thing is so cute, it's such a little goober. I love Pokemon that have 1,000-yard stares and look like their head is just completely empty with nothing but joy. I love this. I said I didn't know who my starter was going to be, but it's probably going to be this one. It really depends on what their final forms look like. So for Pombon, specifically out of the 3, I almost didn't even want to change it. I actually saw a few memes that were hoping Pombon's 2nd and 3rd stages were just slightly bigger versions of Pombon that got progressively bigger. And that also serves my idea for them being rideable. Who doesn't want a big fluffy dog, you know? And it would be warm because it's a fire type. It just seems so fun. We just did a fire type dog, but you know what? Do it again. There's been like 8 fire type dogs. Let's be real. So for Pombon, when I was doing my sketches, as you may have noticed, I had to figure out in real time how to draw a dog. I do not draw dogs. I don't draw creatures in general, which is what this very Pokemon-centric channel has been helping me get over. I have to kind of research a little bit of the anatomy. Not that I'm a master or anything, but a little bit of the anatomy of each type of animal that I draw, because I have to build that skill set as I'm drawing cool Pokemon. So if you're ever drawing something new that you haven't before, just know that even a little bit of research goes a long way to taking something from looking completely scuffed to looking mildly believable, and a lot of times that's all you need. I wanted this dog to feel like it was practically made out of energy, with a big happy face and fur that kind of melted into a fiery energy texture. If you're familiar, almost like Starfire from Teen Titans, especially in the classic comics. Before we move on, I just want to ask you to hit me with a like if you like the design so far, and subscribe if you like watching me draw cool Pokemon. But alright, moving forward. For this evolution's name, I went with Pomerasma, a portmanteau of Pomeranian and Plasma. I have seen a couple other people reference Plasma with this thing, but I want to take it to the extreme and make this a fire electric type. The only one of those I can think of is Rotom Heat. It's a really cool type combination, and to have it on a starter would be amazing. I don't know if it's the most competitive type, but it's very cool. Now, I imagine this Pokemon not as a carry or something like that, but I would want it to be big and bulky with a lot of HP and good defenses. But unlike most tanky Pokemon, I want it to be fast. And I don't really know what to do with that. Like status moves, chipping away health, surviving for a while. I want this to feel like a rescue dog that would whittle its opponents down with stuff like Will-O-Wisp and Thunder Wave while helping its allies. Maybe with something funny like Helping Hand, or with a unique attack like my custom attack Warming Cuddle. This would be a double battle specific attack, which in my opinion they should use a lot more in the main series games. Competitive is already 100% doubles, which, you know, I don't agree with. But if they're going to make competitive doubles, there should be a lot more doubles representation in the mainline games. I will die on this hill. It's fun to do in a casual setting, even though I prefer singles for competitive play. But Warming Cuddle would make Pomerasma the target of all of the attacks that would hit its ally for 1 round, and then afterward boost the attack and speed stats of its ally. This lets it kind of set up and enable another threat on your team, while letting them actually use that turn to do something proactive. And then, since Fire Electric is not the most defensive type, despite this Pokemon being defensive, I would like to give it Regenerator, so that on follow-up turns it can switch out and get some of the health back that it took while it was setting up your other Pokemon. And for outside of combat, you have a giant dog that runs really fast and barks cute and can run up cliffs and maybe charge through brick walls without taking any damage, and that would be very cute and fun. This one I'm going to give a very bright and cheerful color scheme, red and yellow for a Fire Electric type. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And overall, it really does just look like a big Pombon. And specifically, I love the fire kanji that they put on its paw. But I think that's a really cute design, and once in a while Pokemon incorporates little Japanese things like that could get lost in translation. There's actually a really cool video on YouTube of how Japanese Pokemon used to be that I'm going to recommend. I'll put it in the description and in the card. And I know it's not a hot take, but I also hope this thing does not become a big strong guy. A big firefighting strong man. I mean, I'm sure it'll be pretty funny, but I don't know. Keep it on 4 legs. Give it a funny type. Something unique. I'm ready for something unique. I'm not all about these fighting starters nowadays, you know? I'm over it. Which leaves us now with Brout. And Brout I actually had the most difficulty drawing because there's so many different ways to draw a bird, and Brout really doesn't have any indicators of what type of bird it's going to be. It has wings, it has feet, it has a beak, it's a bird, but unlike, you know, us being told that it's a Pomeranian and a gecko, what is Brout? It's a bird. So is it going to look like a cassowary? Is it going to look like an eagle? Is it going to be an owl? Is it going to be like a short and like a turkey? Like what's it going to be? I have no idea. So I went through a lot of designs trying to figure out how I wanted to do Brout. And I made so many sketches. I probably made 12 different Brout evolutions. I made this one, which I think is pretty cool. And it's kind of like a ranger hero looking thing. I made this one, which is more like a thick, strong, flightless bird. And I even made this one. I don't know about this one though, but ultimately it came down to what type do I want to make it. And I've decided that Brout's evolution is going to be grass fighting, baby. I'm doing it. I don't care. Grass fighting. It's gotta be fighting. This thing is crazy. Don't judge me. Don't at me. I do not care. It's grass fighting. Brout's evolution is going to be grass fighting. It's going to be a big burly guy. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. It's going to be grass fighting. Or mine is. Mine is going to be grass fighting. But here is the design that I settled on. Unfortunately, I did not get the recording for the sketch. The inspiration for its design comes from a Muay Thai fighter. And since this game is taking place in a region that seems to be inspired by Southeast Asia and some Oceania, I thought it would be really cool to bring in, if we're gonna do a fighting starter, a martial artist as inspiration. My other design for a standing up, big strong guy Brout looked like this, and I really didn't like it. But the new design I think is very, very cool, and I want to throw some knees and do some cool kicks as Brout's third stage Muay Thai martial artist. This Pokemon that I'm calling Muay Talon. So for Muay Talon's design, I wanted to have that humanoid fighter martial artist physique, but not make it confusable with Blaziken. Because Blaziken does also hit that same kind of bird martial artist niche, as well as being a starter. But I wanted to make them different enough from each other that they didn't feel like retreading the same ground. I like Brout's bright yellow color, but I'm not sure if I fully handled the color scheme well for its final form. I might have needed to bring in a second yellow or a second green to kind of balance things and give some more variety. I think I kept this one a little bit too simplistic. What do you guys think? It has branch decorations that are wrapped around its ankles and head that sort of harken to the Muay Thai rope bands. And it has leaves wrapped around its arms that give the feeling of bandages or athletic wraps. I gave it both wings and arms because, I don't know, there's really no reason I can't. Starters, Pokemon in general, have definitely lost and gained numbers of limbs as they've evolved. Just ask Superior, I don't know if they're very happy about that. But this lets it fulfill my original gimmick of it being rideable. So you can either get on its back, which I don't think works too well for this thing's design, but as a funnier realization of the flying mechanic, it could carry you in its arms, like princess style, I guess they call it, which would be a very funny sight for that thing to just be. I think the Machamp was doing that in Gen 8, but it could be doing that while it's flying around the sky. So this Pokemon would be the one that's flying you around. Gekwa's evolution being the one that surfs you and dives in waterfalls with you, or whatever traversal you would need in this game, while Pombon would be running around and jumping over obstacles and climbing cliffs. For its ability, I went with Wind Rider. I think this is such a cool ability that I want to see take more of a forefront in Pokemon. The general subcategories of moves, like pulse moves, punch moves, Wind Rider makes it so the Pokemon takes no damage from wind-based moves. So relevant moves that this thing would be immune to would be like Heat Wave, Hurricane, Sandstorm damage, I guess? Blizzard, Whirlwind. Whirlwind's annoying, but all those other ones, like, it's weak to those. And on top of being immune, it raises your attack by 1 stage, which is just really cool to switch into a certain specific attack, or essentially lock your opponent out of using a move that could be very helpful. It could be their only stab option in their type, and it forces them to switch. I'm thinking of it from a competitive angle, but it's just really cool to think about being in the game and having someone use Gust or Air Cutter or Blizzard or Hurricane or Heat Wave, and your Pokemon takes no damage and gets boosted. That's pretty cool. But it also triggers when your Tailwind takes effect. So obviously this Pokemon would have Tailwind and would use it and get that attack boost. But if you didn't want this thing to waste a turn on Tailwind, you know what you could do is give it a unique attack called a Wind Punch that sets up Tailwind on activation. This would be a fighting type physical attack that just does damage, sets up a Tailwind. This move would have to be weak as hell, if I'm being real, because that's just Dragon Dance on a body. Like, that's just Dragon Dance with damage. That would not be fun to exist in the game at 80, 90, God forbid 100 power. If that move had more than 40 base power, it would get banned instantaneously. It probably would anyway. It's probably already too good. So, thank you so much for watching this far. What did you think about my Pokemon designs? I've been holding off looking at other people's designs because I didn't want to get influenced by anybody. But now I'm going to go binge watch a bunch of other videos of cool designs for these Pokemon because I want to see if I got close to anybody else's designs. My favorite here is definitely Gecko Wake. I think if these Pokemon designs came true, that's the one I would use just because I think Water Psychic is a cool type. But honestly, I'm happy with all these designs at the end of the day. Which one is your favorite and which one would you start with if these were the actual designs? I want to hear that in the comments below. I am absolutely available for commissions if you want me to draw your Pokemon art or even non-Pokemon art. And I sell a lot of stickers on my Etsy. The link is in the description. Every sale, every commission, every like and subscribe and view helps me live my dream and make money off of what I love to do every day. And any thoughts you have about my moves and abilities, I'm not the master of competitive Pokemon, but I like to think I have enough knowledge about it that I could come up with some interesting and unique ideas. So again, thank you so much for watching Design Twist. This is Trevor, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Peace.